Well, with more, we're now joined by David Pratt, former defense minister in the Paul Martin cabinet, who earlier this week lent his name to an open letter calling on Ottawa to invest more in military and to do more to protect Canadian sovereignty. Mr. Pratt, thank you for joining us. Good to meet you.
Pleasure to be here, Michael.
So I should state first and foremost that CPAC has not independently seen this leaked document. This is being reported on by the Washington Post, but I'm wondering what your reaction to the report is, because allegedly the leak says that American officials are frustrated by what is described as Canada's widespread deficiency when it comes to the military.
Well, first of all, I think it's important to point out that this is not a new event by any stretch of the imagination. Canada, along with quite a few other countries, took a peace dividend right after the Cold War, so we cut back on our military spending, and that continued through to the war in Afghanistan, where military spending under the Martin government and the Harper government increased. As soon as we stopped our deployment in Afghanistan, the military was cut back again, and the Trudeau government has made some investments in defense after they took office in 2015. But from the standpoint of a lot of us, it's still not where it should be as far as the amount, and it's, I think, reflected in the fact that we don't have enough soldiers, sailors, airmen and women, that we have issues with capability, we have issues with deployability as well. So there's a number of issues that I think need to be addressed in a very substantive way. Mm-hmm.
A number of issues, as you say, and according to this report, the knock-on effect immediately has been that our allies apparently now question Canada as an ally, whether or not it can step up and whether or not it could actually be reliable in security matters. How problematic is that assessment if it's true?
Well, first of all, I think people have to understand the concept of collective security, and Canada was one of the original members of NATO when we signed the Washington Treaty back in 1949, and it is predicated on Article 5, which is an attack against one is an attack against all. So it's very much a collective, and we rely on other countries for our security, and they rely on us for their security. And when Canada is not paying, or is not seen to be paying its fair share, I think it does cause some friction within the relationship. Having said that, we've been part of lots of NATO operations and quite a few peacekeeping operations in the past, but it doesn't contribute to harmonious relations within the alliance, and I think what it speaks to as well is the need for Canada to be more conscious of the need for allied solidarity, that we stand together as an alliance in the face of potential aggression from China, actual aggression in terms of Ukraine with Russia.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you know, recently AUKUS was signed, the trilateral security agreement with the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia. Canada not included in that security agreement. What does that say to you about the future if Canada does not more seriously take its commitments when it comes to the military and security?
Well, it's important to understand as well what AUKUS is all about, and AUKUS is really an initiative by the British, by the Americans, to assist the Australians in terms of the construction of nuclear submarines. Now, it also contains some other provisions which relate to the sharing of information in terms of artificial intelligence, hypersonic and counter-hypersonic missile technology, undersea warfare, electronic warfare, cyber warfare. There's a number of other issues in the mix there that I think Canada should be part of. I mean, this is an agreement that is focused on Indo-Pacific security, and we are part of the Indo-Pacific scene. And I think
and a larger economy than Australia.
Yeah, considerably, and so I think we should be part of it. And I think, from what I understand, the door remains open for Canada to participate, but we have to make that move in order to join the group. But I do think it's also important to keep in mind that Canada is part of what's referred to as the Five Eyes, and that consists of the U.S., Great Britain, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, where there is significant, very, very significant intelligence sharing beyond that which exists within NATO, for instance.
You said earlier that Canada needs to understand the idea of multilateral efforts, of partnership. When you say that, are you talking about Canadian politicians or Canadian citizens writ large?
Well, I think it's a combination of both, really. I think we've, in some respects, we are protected by our geography. With the United States as a neighbor, the most powerful military country in the world as our neighbor, there's probably a natural inclination to take our security for granted. But I do think that's counterproductive in the long term in terms of us being able to really assume a greater role with full credibility in terms of our alliance relationships. But I do think that there's a role there for the media to play in terms of educating Canadians about our security situation and security issues in general. I think there's a role for educational institutions as well, and politicians also have to take a bit more of an educational role in terms of saying, security is important for Canadians. International peace and security really is the foundation for economic prosperity and security. And I don't think that point has been driven home enough in this country.
David Pratt, really appreciate your thoughts on this.
My pleasure. Thank you.